Welcome back to the 3PL Insider Podcast. We have the most interesting man in logistics here today, Mr. Hal Compton. Welcome, Hal. We're so glad to have you on. We've done a million different things together, and he never ceases to amaze me. I mean, every time I talk to him, it's something new and it's something exciting. How you ended up here today? How did you meet us?
Oh,
I think it goes back to this guy.
A few weird ways.
Multiple stories that fold into one.
I met Cameron years and years ago, and he helped me during one of the most unique times, which was during COVID, because I actually had a different broker group, and they dropped the ball. Big shock. And I called Cameron, and I'm like, I need a building, and I need it for Amazon, and I need it like tomorrow. And it's got to be a 6-month. Oh, and it's got to be racked. Oh, and it's the middle of COVID. Nobody will let us tour a building. And I got 1,000 trucks on the way, and I got something that I need tomorrow. And he found it. That's the quick and easy side of the story. But that's why I love him and call him for every weird thing today, because he can find anything.
How many times did he walk in your door or cold call you or something before you finally said, all right, Cameron, this is what I'm dealing with. Can you help me?
One?
It actually started prior to that requirement, which and we can get into that to hear kind of your backstory, which was your time with Office Furniture Source when I was cold calling Addison, Valwood areas, just kind of street brokering it, going door to door, and walked into y'all's facility, figured out who it was I needed to chat with, and the rest is history. It was a good timing. You had a need. We were able to provide the value, and it's kind of just gone from there to the story you just told, and to all the things that I know you and Summit have done together, and the stuff that we're working on currently. It's fun to look back on these things. I mean, we all have those stories where it's like, where did this relationship start? And for us brokers, common denominator is it was just a cold call. We didn't know each other from Adam, but and then you fast forward, and it's like, well, not only are we good partners. I mean, we're friends. We're hanging out. We're going to baseball games. I keep canceling Florida trips on Hal, but he's trying to have an opportunity for me and my family to come out there and enjoy the Florida waters. And it's just cool how this business works. It's all relationship based, as we know, but that's what makes it super fulfilling. But yeah, we go back even further than that in the Office Furniture Source days. So yeah,
this is a crazy business. I mean, we for it to be one, I mean, that's the best part, because how many times have you? I have guys that I've cold called or tried to reach out to 25 times over the last 10 years. And, that's how long it takes to finally get in. I mean, most guys in the brokerage world, like that's part of it, but that's a beautiful story. Now, for the information everybody wants to understand, how in the world did Hal get to where he's at today? Let's just go all the way back. Like what the stories of you growing up in CompUSA and Arnold Palmer, like let's hear it all, man. Let's tell us about it.
Went to school in California, went to college at Pepperdine, and up until college, never lived anywhere more than 2 years my entire life. So most people tease me that I grow up a military brat, but I grew up a retail brat. So my father was in retail his whole life, and he'd go somewhere 6 months, fix a state, fix a region, a district, whatever you call it, and then we'd up and move again. So that was pretty much my life through college. So I grew up a retailer, and after I graduated, I started with Marshalls and TJ Maxx. I was their one and only college recruitment. So I started the program, and in the middle of my program, TJ Maxx bought Marshalls, and they killed the program. So I was the one and only person that they were going to start a whole program on college graduates, and I was it. And I was either so good they stopped it after, or so bad that they didn't do it again. I don't know which. But I grew up through Marshalls and quickly moved up. By 22, I was already a district manager
That's not surprising
at Marshalls, which was not the norm. I was already the youngest store manager, then I was the youngest district manager. So I called my dad and I said, hey, I'm getting promoted. I'm going to be a district manager. And the next day, the CEO of CompUSA called me, and my father was the COO at the time at Comp. And he said, "You're coming to work for us." And I'm like, "Oh, hell no. I want nothing to do with my father. I'm not coming anywhere near you guys." And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't make myself clear. You will be here." And back then, he FedExed me a plane ticket because, this was like at the beginning of the internet stages. This was early 90s.
He FedExed you a plane ticket so that you could get on an airplane.
So I could hop on an airplane, fly to Dallas, and interview to get a job that I didn't want.
Wow.
But after interviewing, I was 2 months newly married, and they convinced me to come on board. So I went to CompUSA. I started there as a store manager and was with them for 12 years, worked my way up to vice president, and ran half the country. So I was running the state of Florida and Puerto Rico for for about 5 years, and I was doing $1 billion by myself on a $5 billion company. So there were 22 regions. I was one of 22, but I was doing 1/5 of the company's business.
Wow.
So it helped me grow.
Yeah.
And then while I was there in Florida, ran across, luckily, Arnold Palmer. And we ended up doing a promotion with Arnold Palmer through CompUSA. And since I was based in Florida, he was the natural fit. And then got to spend a lot of time with him. And then over time, he asked me to be part of his board. So I was lucky enough to be on the board of directors for Arnold Palmer Hospital. So that was a lot of fun. Nicest man you ever could have met. Just down to earth. Every year, I'd have to go do something with him in New York. I'd always have to do a dinner, and I say had to, but then I'd get to sit with him at dinner, he and his wife, and he was just the nicest man. At this event, every year, people would line up 100, 200 people deep just to get his autograph. And he was very meticulous about his autograph. He was, I don't understand how these celebrities, I'm here because of them, and without them, I'm nothing. So he was very meticulous. I want to make sure my signature's good. If they took the time to want to talk to me, you just could never imagine how nice of a man he was. So that led me to him for a little while. And then after that, I went to go interview to be the president of Abercrombie and Fitch. And it was
Cam used to be one of the guys that stands out front in the mall of Abercrombie and Fitch with his shirt off, flexing.
Not true, but I did shop there before school. Summer was the time to get all the Abercrombie stuff.
So I went and interviewed with them, and it was the worst interview I've ever had in my career. And I guess it's a good thing I didn't go there, because that guy now is the guy that was running it at the time's in a lot of trouble. But I came home from that interview, and I'm like, this was just horrific. So I decided after that it was time to I said the guy was a knucklehead. And my father and I started talking about all the knuckleheads we work for, and then we just decided it was time to start our own company. So we started our own company, and then since then I've owned about 10 or 12 different companies, never owned the same company twice. So I've been in all different facets since then.
I love that. So you and your dad decide you're going to go start your own company, which the American dream. And to walk us through, what was the first business and why did you pick it?
The first we did was a durable medical equipment company. So I actually sold wheelchairs, hospital beds, oxygen, stuff I knew nothing about. And we picked it at the time because it was extremely profitable. So our goal was we were going to take it, cookie cut it, and put a bunch of them around the country. What we didn't know at the time we bought it was that Obamacare was going to hit literally within months. And when Obamacare hit, they changed that whole industry because he basically put into the law that everything at that point became price structured. Everybody paid the same. So it totally blew our model. So we bought a company, and within 6 months, model was blown because the majority of the business came through the government. So we morphed, and then we went into handicap vehicles. And we took that company public, which I would not recommend to anybody, but we did. We took it public, and in 5 years, we went from one little dealership to 22, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in the U.S., we became the largest handicap vehicle dealership in the country with just 22 dealerships because it was such a fragmented niche business. So We took it from a little $3 million dealership to a $100 million company, and then somebody came along and bought us out.
Wow.
And I didn't think I would ever get out of that business. It was the greatest business I've ever been involved in. It was such a feel-good, when you could get somebody back into a vehicle that had been bedridden.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
And we did a lot with the VA, especially Walter Reed Hospital.
Yeah.
That's the biggest brain injury hospital for the VA. So we did a lot of stuff there. We do giveaways or van giveaways there almost monthly. And man, it was the biggest event you ever saw.
Wow.
People would show up for a veteran. There'd be 50, 100 people show up, people crying and screaming and hooping and hollering. And it was the most feel-good thing ever. So
That's awesome. That's great. So you took it public? How does that process even happen?
You stay up late at night. I had a really good attorney, and my partner and I at the time, we would run the business that we were running at the time through the day, and we'd run it from 7 in the morning till 5, and then from 5 to midnight, we would morph over, and for 6 months, we worked on all the stuff to take our company public. So our attorney would do conference calls with us from 5 till midnight, almost 5 days a week. But we just didn't have time in the day because we had to run the normal business.
Right.
And then at nighttime, but for 6 months solid, my partner and I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in beautiful Mobile, Alabama, which I would not recommend, but we did. And that's what we do. And then you just have to do all the paperwork and the listing, and then figure out, are you going to go this direction or that direction with it? Do you want to be on the New York Stock Exchange? Do you want to be on the NASDAQ? And which way are you going to go? And what are the pros and cons? And again, it's a royal pain in the butt. And then when you're done, you get to produce the same paperwork like you're a Walmart every quarter. So you have to put together the same packet, the same everything. The only difference is, my packet might have been 200 pages to the SEC, where Walmart's is 1,000.
Yeah.
But you still have to go through the same process, and it's a lot of work. That's why I said I would not highly recommend
Been there,
it.
done that.
Yes.
Cool
I wouldn't do it a
though.
second time. Most entrepreneurs should just be an LLC or be an S Corp or be whatever's most tax advantageous to you. But going public's a lot of work.
Yeah. Wow. So what'd you do after that? So you went public, and then do you stay on running it, or then somebody came and just...
They came along, they bought me out. They asked me to stay for a year, and they wrote me a nice check, so I'm not complaining. And then I sat in an office on the tollway here in Dallas, because that's where our company was headquartered here. The company that bought me was based out of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
They literally did not talk to me again for a year. It was crazy. I went to the office every day. My agreement was I'd show up, and after like a month or two, I kept showing up to an empty office because they got rid of everybody that I had. And I show up every day, and I did nothing.
Wow.
And so at lunchtime, I started figuring out, okay, I'm going to come in till lunch, and then at lunchtime, I'm going to go home. And then after about another month, nothing. So I just packed up my office one day and went home. And I said, okay, well, when they figure out I'm not there, they'll give me a call. And
Yeah.
a year later, the day before my contract ended, they called and thanked me for everything, which was really, I did nothing. And that was it.
That's wild.
So while I was going through that year, I was just looking for our next business. So
Yeah.
what were we going to do as soon as that expired? And
So what'd you do next?
then I got into the office furniture business, which I would, again, not recommend.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But that's where I met Cameron. But again, same concept. We got into that thinking, okay, we'll roll it up, and that was our intent. And 5 months after buying that company, the company I'm running now called Image Microsystems, the guy running it used to be an executive with me at CompUSA, and he called me out of the blue one day and said, man, if you were running this business, we could 5 times it. And I'm like, nah, I just bought a business. I'm good. Then I made the mistake of telling my father, and he's never seen a business he doesn't like. So it was based in Austin at the time, so we drove down to Austin, and it was the biggest mess I've ever seen. They refurbished printers and laptops and monitors for Hewlett-Packard. So we went, did a 2-day visit, looked at it, got in the car, drove from Austin back to Dallas, which is about a 3.5-hour drive, And on the way back, my business partner at the time, he's like, I don't know. And my father's like, oh, we're buying it. And I'm driving the car and I'm like, we're not touching that place. That's the biggest disaster ever. And I'm going to be the one to have to fix it. So I'm out. But then you drive home, you spend a couple of days, then you get in your head and you start thinking through everything and you're like, I can fix that. We could do that different. We could do that. All of a sudden, next thing you know, within 5 months, I own 2 companies. So, and then I ran both simultaneously, one out of Austin, one out of Dallas, and just drove back and forth in between for months. And then finally we decided enough was enough, and we relocated the whole thing up to Dallas, which was hundreds of truckloads, biggest disaster I've ever done in my career.
Is that into the building that you're in currently?
Yes.
Okay.
So we moved from an 80,000 square foot building that was overflowing to a 160,000 square foot air conditioned building here in Dallas through a different broker at the time.
Yes.
Sorry, it wasn't with you guys.
Yep.
Oh, early days.
Yes, way before I knew either of you.
So then office furniture. So you ran that business for, I remember back at Rubicon, you came in, did you come to the office and like tell us about, we need to be having our clients buy all their office furniture from you or something like that?
Yes.
I think that's the first time I heard your name. And
we had some of your team come do, not demos, but come just give us catalogs on what you had, because we were, getting in front of all of our clients, because at the time, truly, we didn't really have a go-to vendor, and we get asked all the time, especially with the guys in our office that were predominantly doing office brokerage. They would get asked all the time, like, who would you recommend from a furniture vendor perspective? And we didn't have anyone. So the timing for us to meet you guys was good, because we just started saying, hey, here's who you need to talk to.
And part of our sales tactic at the furniture company was to go meet brokers. So we went out and met all the different brokers in Dallas, because the brokers know who's moving in first. So our tactic was get in front of the brokers, so the brokers pushed everybody towards us. And
so you met with every broker in DFW and still ended up working with Cameron and I. That's even better, man.
I can rattle off more brokers than you guys want to know about, but
probably
yes,
more than we know.
At the end of the day, I ended up I'll be honest. The reason I deal with you guys, it's all about response time. Yep. And in the broker world, I'm sure you guys can tell more, share more stories than I can. But in my experience as a customer, when I need a building, and Cameron can tell you, I've needed a couple really fast. It's all about response time. And the broker I was using prior to you guys, loved the guy, still talk to the guy. But he had first crack before I got a hold of Cameron. He took me to one building, and I'm like, I need a building. And you don't understand. I have like 10 days to get this building. And he took me to one building. It didn't fit. It wasn't what I wanted. And I never heard from him again. And he was my long-term broker. And that's when I called Cameron out of the blue, because I'm like,
this is for the 6-month deal that had to be racked. Wasn't that a grocery company that...
Yeah, it was a grocery company that owned it. It was for Amazon. Amazon got a hold of me and asked me to do a test. And we're going to talk about Image Micro in a minute, but I ended up morphing from Hewlett-Packard to Amazon. So now I do refurbishment for Amazon. But during COVID, they needed us to do returns processing, which is different than repair refurbishment. And they had never used a company outside of Amazon before, so they wanted to use me as a test pilot. And it was supposed to be one building, turned into 3. I went from 70 team members in the middle of COVID up to 850. We had to run radio ads. Nobody wanted to work during COVID.
What were the number of trucks that were showing up literally the week after we got the ink hadn't even dried, and you're like, You got me a 40-door building, cross-dock style, 20 on each side, and we had those 40 doors full by, I don't even think you had finished inking the deal, and they were already there. Yeah, I just remember truly the ink hadn't even dried on the agreement, and you were like, I'm gonna say it was something like 200. It was
1,000 trucks that had to get into that building at first, because the initial was bring in 1,000 trucks, unload them into a building. So we had to have at least 15,000 pallet positions and unload them, spend 2 months, lock the door, walk away. That's what it was supposed to start as. And then Amazon came back and said, no, now we want you to process it. So after, I don't know, we got about 800 trucks unloaded. Then they said, could you process all this stuff? And we're like, we can do anything. And they're like, great. oh, but we can't fly out. We're on travel restriction due to COVID. We can't show you how to do it. We can't do anything basically. So we're just going to trust you to figure it out. And we pretty much figured it out.
So this is one of my favorite stories about just the whole interaction with Amazon, how you figured it out, and then how much they started leaning on you because you figured it out so well and so fast. And then just what they were dumping on you. Oh. Like they were shipping you pallets. They didn't even know what was on the pallet.
I remember you saying, like, if there was anything from a microwave to canoes to everything in between. Like, I got product that's the size of this coffee mug, and I've got product that's the size of this office.
Amazon, they split their product. I mean, they split it into a lot of ways, but they have three major categories. One's called sortable, which is pretty much anything smaller than a microwave oven. Then the next is non-sort, which is anything bigger. And then after that, they get into what they call team mech, which is really a two-person lift, anything that needs two-person. So I'm calling the guy at Amazon because these trucks, I mean, we just can't unload them fast enough. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you want us to do with these tires? And he's like, what? I'm like, well, okay, how about the baby seats and the tires and the canoes and the kayaks? And he's like, no, you're not supposed to have any of that. You're only getting sortable, which is everything smaller than a microwave. And I'm like, no, let me help you. Yeah, and that's what actually I did a FaceTime call with him because he was in Seattle at the time up at Amazon's headquarters. And again, we're in the height of COVID. And he's like, so I do a FaceTime call and I just start showing him. And by then we had already gotten like 400 trucks into the building. And he's like, oh my God, you're not supposed to have half this stuff. And I'm like, okay, now what? And he's like, you'll figure it out. And just keep unloading the trucks. And then it became processing, just process it. And then, okay, well, if you can process there, now we need another building, which Cameron started helping me look for a second building. But then they came back with, you have to have it in 10 days. And at that point, even Cameron, I love him, but even he couldn't find a building. And people wouldn't let us tour a building. They wouldn't even let us come look at it. I mean, that's when we were at full mask, no vaccine or anything yet. So everybody was afraid to even let us into a building. So he got me the first building, but the second building, we just couldn't make happen fast enough. So Amazon came and threatened me, and they're like, if you can't have this in 10 days, we're going to go find another vendor. So I took my office furniture company, which was here in Dallas, which was 114,000 square feet. We shut it down overnight. Literally laid off all the team members, and I just shut it down, and I shoved all the furniture to the back end, and we set up production lines. And literally on day 10, they had 40 trucks sitting at that building just to fill it with more returns. And then they came to us at Image Micro and said, we need a third building. So we took our existing building, and then we had to separate their repair to one end of the building and their returns to a different end of the building because we could not mix the two totally different product lines. And two silos with inside Amazon. Yeah. So we went up to 3 buildings to do returns. We were doing 30,000 pieces a day in each building, and it could be anything from a kayak to a coloring book to perfume to lipstick to. We even had food show up. We weren't even supposed to get food. Wow. Actually, we had 300 truckloads of food by the time we were done that they just let me donate. Wow. So they said, find a vendor in Dallas. You pick who you like. We don't care.
People are returning Lucky Charms, or like what are they returning food wise?
It was crazy. We were getting everything. We were getting pallets of Gatorade. We were getting chocolate bars, cereal, potato chips. We even got eggs and steaks, and they were so rotten. I still can't fathom how they even got returned. How somebody in Amazon allowed it to even be returned. But we got rotten steaks that they just told us throw away, of course.
Yeah,
but
wow.
We had everything you could imagine coming through that building. And
how many people did you have running at that time?
At our height, we got up to 850 across all 3 warehouses.
Goodness gracious, in the middle of COVID, too.
In the middle of COVID. And I didn't know how to hire them. And, of course, Amazon's like, today. Everything has to be now. Now. Well,
because demand just went through the roof. And then, I guess everybody's buying stuff, and then they just started.
Well, that was the problem. And Amazon couldn't even handle all the returns. But they didn't care about their returns. They cared about getting the product out because during COVID, everybody was buying. Even with HP at the time, I was still doing HP. there was a printer shortage during COVID. So
Because everybody started working from home. And
Everybody
going,
was
"Oh, I
working
need to
from
do
home.
this."
Amazon
and then the
became one of the
retailers.
only. I mean, the amount of customers that Amazon had to have onboarded, new customers.
and they couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
So that's why they cared about getting it out, not about coming in. But at the same time, it crushed my HP business because I went from 100,000 printers a month coming in to be refurbished to 2,000, 2,500. And that's why in the middle of COVID, HP, after 9 years, they fired us politely. Not very polite, but basically gave us the 30-day notice and said, well, for 2,000 printers, we don't need you guys anymore. So after 9 years, they killed the relationship.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good segue because I want, for people that aren't in the industry, like explain image mic, like what you guys do, like in detail, the refurbishment, the returns product, like what is that? How does it work? Why do you do what you do? Just for people that don't know that world.
Okay. Well, let's start with the biggest question most people hit me with is, why the hell do you have a name of Image Microsystems and deal with returns? It makes no sense. So the company started 30 years ago, way before I bought it. I bought the company 9 years ago. And it started as a break-fix company to do computers and laptops for companies like CompUSA, Best Buy, Circuit City, Fry's Electronics. They did all the repair way before Geek Squad. So 30 years ago, your computer broke, or 25 years ago, where do you go? So you brought it into a CompUSA, but then we outsourced some of it at the time to Image Micro. So I was dealing with Image Micro, not knowingly, when I was at CompUSA 20 years before Image Micro came back around that I ended up owning it. But we've never changed the name just because it's a 30-year-old company. Plus, changing the name and not doing all that stuff is such a royal pain in the butt. I'm just lazy. I mean, that's the real answer. I don't want to change the name. But today, we handle refurbishment, repair for lots of companies. Amazon, by far, is our biggest company. And then in between meeting you guys, I started doing 3PL. I didn't even know what the hell a 3PL was 3 years ago, and now I'm a 3PL on top of it. So I have a reverse logistics refurbishment warehouse, and then I have a 3PL warehouse. And then somewhere in between, now I deal with an auction company, which we can talk about, and I run all the operations for an auction company that handles returns. So I bring in all their returns, grade it, put it to a bin location for them, and then every day we have 60 people a day pull up to our warehouse, and we just roll stuff out to them that they bought on the auction. So
But they're
I kind of
buying
have
it-
three facets to my business.
Yeah, so that business is interesting because it's still returns, but they're just buying returns in bulk and then selling them in pieces through an auction system on the internet, or a system on the internet where people then just can come buy like a pair of shoes that somebody bought, returned, and didn't, and then the company is just like, look, just get whatever you can, and they sit in the middle of processing it and reselling it to somebody.
That's it. I run the operations. But yeah, I bring in, whether they get their returns from Amazon or Target or Dollar General or whoever the heck they're getting them from. My job's bring it into my warehouse, grade it, because we give it a very simple grade, and then scan it in, and then it puts it straight to their website. And then they manage the website, but everything with them starts at $5. So that's why I said we have 60 people a day pulling up, 60 to 80 every day. And they could have bought a pair of shoes. Yesterday, I saw somebody got a hand snowblower, which in Dallas, I don't even understand. But somebody bought it. I don't know what they bought it for. But we literally roll the stuff out in shopping carts to them. We do not load their car in case any damage, but
Sure.
we roll stuff out. So we deal with them. So I've got that at one end of my warehouse. I got Amazon at the other. And then in the middle of my supposed to be refurbishment warehouse, I have an apartment group. We do all the pick and pull for them to refurb an apartment. So I literally have kitchen sinks to light fixtures to mirrors, for anything to go into an apartment. And we literally all day long pull for them. And then I have another company in the middle of my warehouse called BenQ that we do all their distribution and their repairs for Best Buy. So we send out 86-inch touchscreen, $10,000 whiteboards to Best Buy for them.
So
It's crazy.
how in the world do you find the qualified people with the proper training to take some of these computers and machines and things that you're getting and refurbishing to one, diagnose it, two, fix it, and put it back into good working order and then ship it back. I feel like that's got to be such an intricate.
It's not as hard as it sounds. It's just paying attention. But when you have a partner like Amazon, and I mean this as politely as I can, who can't read or live up to their contract obligations, my contract with Amazon says I am supposed to repair 40 categories of product. I am over 900 categories of product in my building right now because Amazon just ships you whatever they want to ship you. So we have to figure out whether it's a microwave oven, an upright vacuum, a thermostat, which nobody thinks about a thermostat. But how do you test 1,000 thermostats a month that come in the door? You can't just walk up and plug it into the wall. So my team had to build these little boxes that you can actually attach to them. One, to power them, but two, as you do all the functions, they actually light up. And I posted some crazy videos of the weird things my team have built just to test product. But you don't think about it. Then after you test it, then you got to wipe it because everything today holds customer data. So if you bought a Nest thermostat and put it up in your house, you now gave it your Wi-Fi login, your password, your name, your address, all that's in there. So if we don't wipe it and we send it to the next person, all your data is actually in a Nest thermostat, whether you know it or not.
And that's on you guys to wipe the devices? Interesting.
It is on us. So again, that's why you have to connect it. You have to power it. Then you have to log into it. Then you got to have people smart enough to know how to wipe it. And that's just one example. But and in today's world, all the smart home devices hold your data. So even a light switch, we just had to build a box last month because we started getting smart home light switches. But again, when you plug them in and you connect it to a Wi-Fi device, your data will pop up if you actually connected it in your house. So we got to make sure that gets wiped. And then we have to do, just crazy things, coffee makers or door locks or earbuds or whatever else shows up. So yeah, you have to teach people how to test them, how to grade them, because we also have to grade it because everything that goes back to Amazon gets a grade. I don't really care what the grade is. Amazon cares. I don't care. But you care if you purchase it. So you want to know if that Nest thermostat, is it pristine because it came in and nobody really used it? So we grade it. We give it, we give it 6 grades. Like new, very good, good, acceptable, unacceptable, or fail. If it fails, it goes off to a liquidator. Anything else, then that determines the price when it gets back to Amazon. So if somebody's trying to buy it, and Amazon actually has a whole outlet site out there that most people don't even know about. But most of the stuff we refurbish goes to Amazon outlet, or it shows up off to the side. Sometimes when you're buying something, there'll be a little blue bar that says 3 other sellers or 3 other items available. If you click on that, sometimes it'll show you the used item.
Yeah.
And then depending on that grade, I'm making this up, but a Nest thermostat might be $400 new, but like new, it's $300, and very good, it's $249, and good is $200, and acceptable is maybe $100. Whatever Amazon chooses, that's up to them. But we have to make sure we grade it properly because we're tied into their software. As we grade it, it's live. It shoots straight back to Amazon. As soon as we hit complete on the grade, we lose the data. So we have to keep the data in the back end.
And then you just put it in a bin and ship it back to an Amazon facility, and they put it back in stock.
That'd be way too easy. Then we have to clean it. Then we have to repackage it. And then there's lots of rules around the box. Certain boxes can go back, but they can only have a hole so big or a cut so big or a dent so big or so many stickers. And if it has too many, then we have to take it, and we have a huge machine in our warehouse. We have a right-to-size box machine because we just get too many products from Amazon.
The pack size machine?
Yeah. So we have a pack size machine. It's bigger than a freaking car.
Oh, it's awesome, though.
But you go over 3 scans in 10 seconds, you can spit out a box pretty much any size up to about a 75-inch monitor. Anything bigger than that, then we got to get a custom box made. But no, we custom make boxes all day long. I have a person, that's all they do is just stand and make boxes all day long. From the time they clock in to the time they clock out, it never stops.
Wow.
So
such a multifaceted. I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, how do you just have to have an absolutely brilliant team.
I have a couple of really good team members, like my VP of IT. He's been with me since the CompUSA days. Actually, all my executives, they've been with me to every company I've ever owned. How they stay with me, I have no clue.
That's one of my favorite parts about your story in general is I've met all of them, and every single one of them is just like, look, wherever Hal goes, we go, and he takes care of us, and we take care of him, and it's just that says a lot about you and your character and how you take care of your people. But they're obviously brilliant if they can help you figure these things out.
Every time they're around, I pay them really good to tell you that. So that worked out. No, it's everything I've learned over all the companies I've had. It's all about people and process. So as long as you have the right people, and that's why my CFO, my COO, my VP, 4 or 5 other people there, they've just stuck with me for 20, 25 years. So it's amazing. I run across weird products every day and customers every day. I mean, I was telling Summit right before we sat down, I just had a pet company get a hold of me, and they want us to refurb their self-feeding pet bowls. So you put a little collar on your dog or cat, and it walks up and it knows when it gets close, and then it'll give them their food. Or they have this $800 robo cat litter box. So that I told Summit, they literally, the samples just showed up at 12 o'clock today, right before I came to meet you guys, and they want them tested. They sent them to me so we can do time studies on it and figure out how we're going to tear them apart and refurb them. But they're looking for somebody to help refurbish all their product, and I don't even know how the heck they found me. So
well, if you're
they reached out of the blue. Same with Bartesian. I don't know how Bartesian found me.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's always somebody knocking on our door looking for, can you repair this? Can you refurbish this? And I drive my executives crazy because I just don't say no.
Yeah, I love that though.
They don't.
But that's why you've been able to figure out so many different things. I mean, that's part of a successful entrepreneur is figuring it out. And
I have my moments.
Yeah. Well, so you at one point you had Amazon flying you all over the country trying to teach other providers, hey, this guy knows how to do it. You guys figure it out, and flying you in to come train and teach people. And like, walk us through some of that. What is some of the crazy stuff you saw on that?
Amazon's real big on, they don't like their vendors to know who their other vendors are. So at the time, the person running the project, he lived in Seattle. He moved to Dallas because in the middle of COVID, they allowed everybody from Amazon to work wherever they wanted. So he decided he wanted to be in Dallas. So I was already his guinea pig, but then I really became his guinea pig because he was here. He's now since been promoted. Now he works for Woot, which is owned by Amazon. So I still talk to him about once a month. We became really good friends. But yeah, he decided to change the rules a little, and he's like, I need your help. I got to fly the other vendors in. They have to see what you're doing. I need you to go help show some other vendors how you're doing it. It's really, everything with him was the first time Amazon had ever done any of it. I was the first vendor to ever be allowed to touch returns outside of an Amazon facility. I was probably the first vendor to allow other vendors to come in that wasn't a non-Amazon facility and allow them to come in with no NDAs, none of that. I'm just like, if that's what you need to happen, bring them. I don't care. Open kimono. I mean, you choose how much product I get, so what does it matter if they're in my building or not in my building? I can't change my flow with Amazon. You choose that. So yeah, he had me go, I've been to Atlanta to go help a group there. I went to Kentucky to help a group there. He had them fly in from Las Vegas and other places to come see what we were doing. And some of it right at the end of COVID. But yeah, once he got promoted, things have changed at Amazon ever since. So it's not quite the same.
Interesting.
Different team, different people all the time. Amazon churns through people like you can't believe.
I can only imagine companies that
you can't.
That are that
you
big.
think you can, but you can't.
Yeah, that's wild. So today, you're operating. You have the 3PL, you have the auction returns business, and then you've got the refurbishment businesses, and then you're still refurbishing for Amazon.
Yes.
What's the future look like for you? Which one do you feel like is your bread and butter? Or are they all, or like what's the future of Image Micro?
Well, the answer I should give sitting and talking to you guys today is 3PL, because again, that's what you're most involved in. But for me, the key is refurbishment, repair refurbishment. Because I'm sure, I mean, you guys are all smart guys, and I'm sure anybody listening or watching this understands returns are getting worse, not better. So as a society, America is crazy. So, and Amazon's just one, but I mean, every retailer, every customer's got that problem. So they just don't know what to do with their returns. And that's where people like me come in. So that's going to continue, in my opinion, for the next few years, easy, because that's just the way we are as a society. It's too easy now. Like you were saying for your father, it's the first time he figured out, how to buy something and have it there next day. Well, we've made it so easy but nobody thinks about, oh my God, what's going on with the returns? And the returns are they pile up everywhere. I mean, it's crazy some of the things I've seen. And
so if returns are, you're saying demand for returns, like the amount of returns is getting higher and higher and higher. So is there opportunity in just being a full throttle reverse logistics or returns processing facility? I know a lot of guys, there's a lot of technologies coming out around it, like 2Boxes and some other players in that space that are trying to help 3PLs be able to successfully process returns for all of their customers. Who are some of the better players in that space, or what do you think the future looks like there with if the demand is going to continue to go? Like, who are some of the players and things that you think are going to be successful in the future?
The demand's definitely there. The problem today is people don't know where to go. So, I mean, I'm talking to these companies every day that, I don't know what to do. I'm getting all these returns, like this pet company I'm talking to now. They're working out of an office in San Francisco, a business office. They have their returns right now being sent to their business office. Oh. And they're like, we're dying. We don't know what to do. So that's how they found me. So there's more me's around the country. There's a group out of Atlanta called ARC. They got bought out by a company called Clover. But Clover has a few places around the U.S. Because they're gobbling up people like me trying to get bigger.
Your return system clearly is not set up super well, so let us handle that for you.
Well, I met with a group last week, and they run hospital gift shops, hundreds of them across the country. And I've known the guy running it. Again, we grew up through CompUSA together, but they're growing by leaps and bounds. But they have two problems. One, they have a return problem because they're not designed to take a return back in a hospital gift shop. They do. They take them, but then their people don't know what to do with them. So that's one problem. And then number two, they're constantly trying to update their product so people in the hospital actually buy out of the gift shop, not just the customer. It's really a neat concept, but they're getting stuck with extra merchandise because they need to clear their shelves. So 100 stores sold through everything, but 100 stores didn't. Well, that shelf space now is empty in 100 stores, but full in the other 100. So now they need to get that product out. So they want to talk to me not only about their returns, but also helping them get rid of their, I wouldn't say discontinued product, but yeah, the product now that they need to move. And again, they were shipping it to a guy's garage, one of their VPs. They were shipping all the stuff to his garage, and then he was resorting it out and either liquidating it or trying to get it back to the vendor. So they were telling me stories last week, and but yeah, they approached me to help. But there's always these stories of people just don't know what to do with their returns. And to your point, it's going to somebody's garage, it's going to their office. So I just don't see that going away anytime soon. I just want to be the resource. And even if I'm not the right one, to your point, you asked who's good at it. I refer them to somewhere else, because if it doesn't make sense to ship it to Dallas, then I'll refer them to a couple of people that I believe in or that I've seen their work, because there's some really bad players in this industry. Returns, the bad news about returns is a dirty business.
Oh, yeah. Liquidation and returns.
It sucks.
Yeah.
And finding reputable, decent people in the industry is really hard. I've found a few, but it's hard because it's a dirty business. And I'd like to tell you I've run across people that are all honest and really do what's right, but they don't. We do. I mean, my number one motto in my company is do what's right. I tell all my customers, you can come see me every day. I don't care, announced or unannounced. We run our business the same way. Come. Most people don't. They want to know a week or two in advance. Well, the reason they want to know a week or two in advance is because they're going to shuffle and clean up before you show up for what they're really doing.
So would you say that there's still a lot of opportunity out there to create something in the return space that should be wildly successful if they take that same sort of approach and or some sort of a unique approach to process them faster or something like that? Like, is it still so fragmented out there, and there's still a lot of guys that are not, maybe super straightforward? So trying to find, is there an opportunity there for?
It's definitely fragmented, and in 5 years you'll probably play this and figure out what I'm saying today. He was dead wrong. But the nice thing about my industry at the moment, other than it being niche, is there are things AI can do to help a little, but you still have to have somebody tear that unit apart, replace a fuse, clean the blade, fix an O-ring, whatever has to happen. No AI is going to clean out a dirty. I mean, yesterday my COO and I were testing a new ultrasonic machine, and we were putting vacuum hoses in it, which were the filthiest vacuum hoses you've ever seen, but we wanted to see how clean it could get it with ultrasonic. So we were out on our floor yesterday with these dirty vacuum hoses, putting them in this special machine, running it for 10 minutes, and you pulled the thing out and it was super clean. But no AI is going to do that. Somebody's still going to have to go take that from a station over here and move it to another station over here to clean it, then dry it, then get it repacked, put it back with it, make sure it works, no holes. So that's the one thing I like about the niche of my industry right now. I wouldn't say it's AI proof. Nothing's probably AI proof in the future, but you're still going to need people to tear apart a unit and get some ROI out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, not everything is worth throwing away. So companies need to find a way to get an ROI. And, Amazon was smart enough. They figured it out years ago. Everybody else hasn't quite figured it out yet. I mean, that's why for the last almost 8 to 9 years now, I've been doing Amazon repair, because they figured out it's better to do something with it than either liquidate it or throw it away.
Yeah. Yeah, I was touring a building the other day. It was a boot company, and it would blow your mind what people will return. Like,
oh no, it won't. It won't blow my mind. It
not your mind,
but
like other people.
Here.
They're going like, people have the audacity to ship a box of rocks back and say, just to get to ship it back and then get the return money before it even gets back. So I mean, you have to have much better processes if you're going to allow returns, that you don't actually process the return to the money until you receive it and grade it.
We deal with fraud every day.
The fraud is unbelievable.
More than you can imagine.
They ship back some boots that clearly the bottom of this boot is scuffed up. And there was a little note, and the little note said, "I promise I didn't wear these out of the house. I just put them on to see if they fit." And you look at the bottom of this boot, you're like,
no way.
This hit the town.
Right.
I mean, these boots hit the town. And this dude tried to write a nice handwritten note saying, "Please process this. I promise I didn't do anything else." You're like, come on, man.
We get an iRobot, $500 robotic vacuum back, but it's I'm making this up, the iRobot 6, but we get the iRobot 2 back in the box.
Oh, yeah.
Because they switcherooed it.
Yep.
We get hundreds of those every day, and we have to denote it as fraud. And yeah. And I talked to a bidet company 2 years ago. They wanted me to do refurbishment on bidets, bidet seats.
Yeah.
And I was perplexed. And I'm talking to the lady. I'm like, "You want me to refurbish used bidets?" And she's like, "No, not really. But our biggest problem, it hit on social media that they didn't really have a returns program. They didn't have anything. So if you called them, their answer was, keep it. We'll refund you, but keep it." So she called and she's like, we have to put a process in place, because as soon as it hit social media, their number one selling bidet seat at the time was a $99 bidet seat, but their high-end one was $349. overnight, as soon as they hit social media, 99% of their sales went to their $349 unit, and their 99 was their big seller. Everybody went to the 349, and their return rate went to like a 90+% return rate because it hit social media. So she's like, we have to put something in place to stop all the fraudulent returns.
Yep.
So we're going to call it refurbishment. Any that come back unopened or open but not out of the plastic, we just want you to reseal it and resell it for us. And anything open, we just want you to dispose of. But yeah, it's crazy what happens out there, especially with social media. If somebody figures out they don't have a good return policy, or the answer is keep it, it hits social media, and then everybody wants to keep it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most fragmented part of the whole return system is just how many people take advantage of that, and the fraud is just unbelievable.
Oh, more than you know.
Well, y'all are answering a question I was going to ask when you were talking about going forward. You see the demand just continue to increase for that need. Do you think other logistics operators will try to play more in the reverse logistics space? But hearing you guys talk about it's not the sexy piece of the business. You deal with a lot of riffraff, a lot of fraud. You can't dabble in it. You have to commit to get the processes and the team in place, especially if you're going to be doing refurbishment, et cetera. But I was going to ask, do you think other groups, because we'll talk to other operators, and they might show that they do reverse logistics as part of their on their website as part of their services that they offer. We ask them about it, and it's the usual response is, well, we can and we do it for a couple customers of ours, but it's not something that we necessarily promote. We'll show it as a service that we can provide, but it's not really what we do.
I've heard that story.
Yeah.
Not from you, but other customers.
And it made me think of the conference earlier this year where you gave you talked about your business, the returns processes, all the things that you're doing. And I remember after you got done talking, the amount of other 3PL operators that came up to you and be like, I need help because we don't do it. We get asked about it all the time. We've tried to do it. We're horrible at it. We don't have anyone that we know or trust that could do it well. And kind of you're talking about, I like that I'm in this niche business and we are a very good operator at it, because a lot of people will shy away from it.
And
for the things that y'all just talked about.
And how to price it, because you're going, it's cumbersome. It takes a lot of time, energy, and people, and that's expensive. But if it's product that they're losing already because it got returned, and then you have to hit them again. So you're trying to figure out the happy medium of how do I price this where they'll actually do it. Instead of just sip it to a trash yard and just say, just get rid of it. It's cheaper to do that.
It's very difficult. And yes, you just hit the nail on the head. What most customers don't think about, it's not just the refurbishment, it's all the steps.
Yeah.
And I do another customer called Huron, and they do juicers. They do high-end juicers, like $600 to $900 juicers, which I didn't even know people paid that much anymore. But they build a great product. They put a lifetime warranty on it. But they chose us not only as their refurbishment partner, but we handle all their returns, and their big customer is Costco. Well, Costco doesn't have a stock room, so everything from Costco comes back small parcel, one juicer at a time. We get 80 to 100 every day that show up at our door. And then we have to go tear it apart, refurb it, repackage it, and then we either help them resell it or we ship it off to whatever marketplace, however they want it done. But they've been a phenomenal partner, but they didn't understand at first all the things you just said. So they were cheap. And then, okay, I can be cheap, but then they're like, well, wait a minute, who's going to repackage it? Oh, wait, you want it repackaged? Well, who do you think's going to do that? That's a different step than just refurbishing it.
Right.
Then it's, well, can you store it for us until we sell it? Okay. How do you think it gets from a station after it's refurbished to a pallet, then a pallet to a rack? And then when you want it pulled, you want it individually pulled? Yeah, we want to sell one blender or one juicer at a time. How do you think that happens? And it took a while, but again, they were sending everything to an office, and then somebody was trying to keep up with it, and I'm sure the majority ended up in the trash at the time. And then they figured out on a $600 to $900 juicer, there was an ROI to do a refurb. The last 2 years, we've been phenomenal partners, but coming out of the gate when we were trying to price it, the argument just with the customer of nobody thinks about all the steps. It's not just about refurbishment, but if you want us to handle everything for you, who's going to do this? And I have to put dedicated people in. Now we handle all their Slack. They do everything through Slack, instant message. So they're in California. We're in Dallas. We do all their orders through Slack. We do all their parts. So they ship us 80 or 100 orders a day of send out an O-ring, send out a blade, send out a lid. So now not only do we do their refurb, we do that. We grew into that over time with it when they figured out we were a good partner. But yeah, to your point, it's how do you price all that? And how do you figure it out? And if you don't start off thinking that way, most 3PLs, and what Cameron's talking about when I gave a speech at 3PL conference, the ones that came up don't think about all that. So they're excited because they're like, ooh, I can get $20 to refurb a juicer, or $30 or $40 or whatever price you're going to charge. But then they don't think about all the things around it that you're upside down on that $20 really fast.
Yeah.
And then convincing a customer what value that brings, and that you have to do all these steps and you have to have dedicated people. And because to your point, you can't just throw somebody on tearing apart a $600 juicer. You got to have somebody knowledgeable to be able to do it. They have to be there every day. They have to know the steps. They have to have an SOP. Anyway, it's the crazy part of the business. So yeah, a 3PL should not just jump in and say they do reverse logistics. But I've run across plenty of customers that have, and then I get the aftermath.
Well, I see a lot of 3PLs that say, look, we'll handle your returns. Here's what's going to happen though. Return comes in. They're going to inspect it, and if it needs refurbishment, that goes into another bucket, and that goes to somebody else.
That's exactly what they should do.
But if it's clean, and they can say, like, look, this T-shirt is like, they tried it on and put it back in the box. This is good. So then they can process that back. So it almost is another step, though, because they have to – that 3PL is going to bring it in and then do the sort and seg of that stuff, and then that brand now has to take all the stuff that needs to be refurbished and find somebody like you that can actually refurbish it. So you're kind of doing both, where you're, like, taking returns – and you're able to do the refurbishment in-house. And maybe that is just the future of that whole thing. Is like,
and that's why I said earlier, sometimes I play customer to a customer.
Yeah.
So I have no problem being in between, like I'm sure some of my competitors too. I don't care if XYZ 3PL wants to handle 85% and the 15% they can't handle, send it to me, and then I can either send it back to them or send it out. But that's how 3PLs, in my opinion, should be looking at that step, instead of, to your point, saying, well, we handle for one or two customers. Because the other part of refurbishment, which nobody thinks about, is, and I talked about this, Cameron had to sit through my boring hour seminar thing that I gave.
Why do you think this beard is so symmetrical from the beard
from
trimmer
these little
thing?
Beard trimmers? Yeah, I had a customer with these little beard trimmers that abandoned them on us. So I use that as an example of, these are not a thing you should send back for refurbishment, because their cost was like 50 cents.
yeah.
But you got to make sure that customers understand what step of refurbishment do you want. So like when we did Hewlett-Packard's requirement, and they sent auditors into my building every month, they wanted a printer exactly like it came off the shelf at Best Buy or Costco or Sam's Club. And when I say that, if you guys have ever dealt with a printer, at the end there's a little tab that flips up that keeps your paper from shooting off the end. Well, that little tab, when you get it, has a little piece of blue tape over it to keep it from moving in the box. HP was so anal. That tape had to be within millimeters of the same way it went out when they did it originally from the factory. And their person would come in and check that we were blue taping that little tab
In the
down.
perfect spot. Yeah.
But then they wanted the original foam, and back in what they called a candy box, which looked like a retail box. So that is a much different refurbishment than refurbishing it just to a grade, to your point. So there are extremes of what is a refurbishment, and people have to know the difference. And when you talk to a customer, how much of a refurbishment do you really want? And if you don't understand that, you could screw up your pricing really fast and be held accountable to an HP standard, but be charging for, to your point, just to really look at it and rebag it.
Right. Yeah, I think it really just comes down to what was the original price of the product that what's the value of the product, right? And you got a little more wiggle room when you're HP and you're selling a computer for a ton of money, right? Or a printer, but again, like when it's beard trimmers, like, man, if somebody returns that, you just gotta toss that in the trash. You're gonna lose money if you even ship it back in a return.
And that's exactly the scenario I gave on these beard trimmers. I tried to tell the 3PL, I pleaded with them, do not ship those.
So liquidation is a huge problem in the 3PL industry all the way around, because you either have a ton of returns, you have somebody went out of business, and you just get left with 500 pallets of something. You just like, what am I going to do with this?
I can share all those stories too. Been there, seen it, done it.
So
Lived those nightmares.
So what is that world like, and what are some of the outlets you see people use, and what are some of the do's and don'ts in that liquidation space?
Again, liquidation is dirty. It's a dirty business. So I dabble in it. It is not my expertise. Like Cameron said, that's one of those services. But like my auction partner, he is a liquidator. So again, I run his operations. If I get stuck with liquidation, I turn a lot of my customers to him because he sells stuff by the truckload or the pallet, and he doesn't care if he's taking back pickleball canvas bags. He'll find a buyer. But there's a couple of vendors that I have out there, or partners that I like to partner with, that if somebody calls me with that, I try to push them to them, because I specifically say, do not send that to me. But again, I try to do the right thing. I attempt to push the person to the right avenue. But there are plenty of good liquidators out there. But again, the problem most 3PLs don't understand is liquidation. Not only is it a dirty business, it is a low margin business. You're going to be at pennies on the dollar by the time you get into liquidation. So when somebody calls and says, well, I bought this stuff for, I'm making it up, I bought this widget for $100, I need my $100 back. You ain't getting that in liquidation. You're going to get 10 cents on the dollar. So if that costs you $100, you're going to get $10, and you're going to be lucky if you get $10. Because that liquidator is going to take it. They're going to ship it somewhere. They're going to sort through it. They're going to try to figure out what it is. They're going to try to match it with some buyer somewhere, and maybe they're going to turn around and sell it for $12. So they got it from you for 10, and they're happy getting 12. So, liquidation's tough, but the expectation, you just got to have the expectation that when you get into that world, you're in the cents on the dollar range at that point. And that's another thing I've told 3PLs. Is then you have to start doing cost analysis on your space, because what are those pallets costing you? Because that's the other thing we get a lot of. Oh, well, this stuff's been sitting here a year, and how can you help us with it now? It could have helped you a year ago when that was a current product and it had value, but a year later, 2 more models have come out since, because technology now, as you know, most stuff, 3 to 6 months is the average life cycle of anything. So if you've let something sit for a year, you're 2 cycles past what that was. So as a 3PL, you got to jump on stuff faster. Once you make the determination you're not moving forward with that customer, or they went bankrupt, or they stopped paying their bill and now you're stuck with it, you better be making a decision that week of get it out of your building. Find somebody. Not necessarily me, because I'm not a liquidation player, but get a hold of me. I'll help them. I'll point them to some good liquidators. But that's what we hear all the time is, well, I got this stuff and it's been sitting here a year or 2, and can you help us? Well, now it's really worth nothing. Now 10 cents of zero is zero. So anyway, I don't know if I really answered your question there. But.
No, you did. Yeah, it's a crazy, just an absolutely wild world, and it's so new too. I mean, like it was a thing before COVID, but like then it just got so much worse. And it's as e-commerce gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it's going to become a bigger and bigger problem. And
the faster, more convenient you make it for the customer, the more returns that are going to show up out there, which then leads to more returns, more liquidation, more whatever, which again helps the 3PL world, but it's just a never-ending cycle. That's why I said, 5 years from now, somebody will come tell me I'm wrong, but I believe for at least the next 5 years, returns and liquidation are not going away. They're not going to get better, because we're not coming up with the solution as a country. We just feed it.
Right.
Yeah, that's wild, man. It's but more e-commerce grows and returns and all of the above, the more warehouse space people are going to need, and that's why we're here.
This is true. This is true. I was curious, on the Amazon stuff, do you have visibility into when you send back refurbishments, what have you, back to Amazon? Do you have visibility into if those items then go sell again on like based on how you grade it, how Amazon grades it? So I was thinking like, I don't know, maybe you're different, but I can think of maybe 2 or 3 times where I've bought some on Amazon that I bought like new or good, and it was usually like a book.
A book, yeah, I was going to say.
Paperback book, you know, that I probably wasn't going to read anyways, but everything else I just buy new. So I'm curious if you have insight into if those things sell, and if so, like what is the most common product, if you know, that can sell as a refurbed?
We do have visibility. Not only do we have visibility, my poor vice president every week has to do a weekly call every Thursday with a girl from Amazon who her sole focus is to reduce their return rate. That's all she does. So she literally goes through a report of, here are the items that came back, you know, a Keurig coffee maker or a Hoover vacuum cleaner or whatever. And if they start to see trends, then we have to talk about it with them. I do not sit on those calls every week. I can't do it. I would want to blow my brains out. I've sat in a couple. But you can only hear, well, what are you doing to reduce your return rate on Hoover vacuums? Well, we've already done everything we can do. We've cleaned it. We've processed it. We think we graded it to their standard. But if they start to see Hoover, then, you know, Hoover returns, I'm just making it up. Pick a widget. It doesn't matter. But no, they get a hold of us every week, and we literally have to do a call and go through the top 10 category returns every Thursday of whatever they saw come back, and what are we doing from our end to make it better. So whatever they find, again, if it's earbuds, if it's, you know, microwaves, then they want to know, and then they break down into, was it a shipping issue? So did the microwave show up dented? Well, okay, we didn't pack it properly. Or is it showed up, but the light bulb inside wasn't working? I mean, they get down to that detail if the customer types it back into Amazon. So like even this little ultrasonic machine that we were testing yesterday, I bought it through Amazon, and I had to return it because we took it out of the box yesterday and the cord was cut. We were able to make it work, but it looks like it rubbed in the box and damaged the cord. So I created a $500 return yesterday, but somebody's going to be on some call somewhere to talk about the machine I bought because I bought it used just to keep the cost down. But yeah, it got rubbed in the deal. So, but yeah, we get visibility every week. We go through product by product with them. Amazon's actually, they're very determined to make sure that they have as good of experience as possible. So yeah, they light us on fire weekly, and I mean that politely, but they do light us on fire. I don't know if I answered that as much as you want, but we get a lot of detail, more detail than we want.
Yeah.
We do a lot of calls with Amazon every weekday. It's just, again, they're the 800-pound gorilla. So when they say jump, we say okay, and whatever they want to talk about that day. But we dig into it. I mean, we've looked at our packaging. We've redone our packaging over the years, lots of different ways. So I have a machine now, I was telling you guys, because they're real big into recycle. So we went and bought a machine because we produce a lot of cardboard. All the boxes that fail, now you're stuck with a Hoover box or a Keurig or an AC or I don't know, whatever the hell it is. We have a machine that you actually put it through, and it turns it into a mesh net. So now it's cardboard, but it's stretchy, and now we can wrap it right back around a product. So we can now take a used box that wasn't good enough to go back, put it through this machine, and now use it as packing material and ship it right back out without having to throw it away, or where we used to put it into a truck and then get paid a couple of cents a pound for cardboard. But that drove Amazon crazy because they didn't like the carbon footprint for the truck. I mean, they've even analyzed the carbon footprint for our recycle truck because we keep a truck on site, a 53-footer that we just fill full of plastic and cardboard. And then nobody will take white foam anymore. So we found a machine that chews up white foam and turns it back into a packing peanut so we can put it back in and reuse it to help reduce returns. It's crazy all the things we've come up with.
Man, you've seen so many different things in this. Nobody thinks about what the process is like when you ship something back, or what it has to go through, or what the companies have to go through to even get it back, process it, and put it back into circulation or in the trash or whatever they do with it. It's just so fascinating that.
I told you up front when we started, it's all about people and process.
Yeah.
So, but most people don't stop to look at the process. So you just have to refine the process over and over and over again.
Well, hey, the American dream, starting your own businesses, solving problems, finding good people, and just making it happen, and just figuring out a way to get it done. I love it, man.
And I still deal with you guys.
And still deal with us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oof. God bless you.
So what do you, if you're taking a 30,000 foot perspective look at, just stepping back a little bit, U.S. economy, just how the world is shaping up now versus, COVID was a crazy time. We kind of went crazy through that. Then it tanked, and now it's kind of coming back. Then we got into tariffs, and then what is Hal's outlook or view in what the next 3 to 5 years look like, just in general, from the U.S. economy and where things are headed? And I ask you that because you have a Pepperdine University degree, so we know that you have to just have a nice strong pulse on.
Yeah, let's go with that.
First campaign question.
Yeah. Well, first off, never running for public office. I don't have the tolerance. Well, I mean, if you believe the news, everything in the news says economy's bad, people are struggling. Then you look at the stock market. Stock market's on fire, and I got a million return trucks showing up at my door every day. So the economy can't be that bad because the trucks aren't slowing down and the product flow is not slowing. In fact, it's just getting bigger.
Is more returns a sign of buyer's remorse more, or is it just a sign of flat out just people bought more stuff and there's just more returns in general?
I don't know if it's buyer's remorse or not. I just look at it as and this is again my opinion, if the economy is really struggling, then people stop buying. So at some point I should see my returns going down, in theory. I mean, that's my belief. I don't know if I'm right. Again.
Well, then you got companies like, what is it, Klarna or whatever, these Affirm, where it's like, hey, buy this product and you can make 4 interest-free payments. Like, I'm talking, you could buy a coffee mug for $9 and make 4 interest-free payments with Affirm.
Right.
Like, how many people are? I was looking at numbers on that.
Chipotle payment plans.
Yeah.
People are doing that.
But if they are, at least from my perspective, things can't be as bad as what the news is saying because, Prime Day just happened again, and I'll see the results from Prime Day in 30 days. So for me, 30 days later, every time they run a Prime Day, I get a spike because the returns go up because people buy everything, and then whatever they return normally makes its way through Amazon about 30 days later. So Prime Days for me is a spike. So I know in about 10 more days, I'm going to have a huge spike. But Prime Day again was another huge plus. I mean, they were over LY. Now, I read a little more about Amazon just because I want to stay on top of what I think is about to come in my door because they give me no notice. You open a door. Every time we open up a truck, it's Pandora's box. You just don't know what's going to be in there. You get no advance notice. So whatever comes in, you take it off and fix it. But everything that they said this time on Prime, for the first time ever, the majority of it was more home staple items than I don't want to say unnecessary buys. I don't know the right terminology, but there weren't as many TVs and high-end appliances and what I would call more frivolous buys, according to the data that came out from Amazon this time. This time it was more staples that people need for everyday life, toilet paper and vitamins and things that they're going to buy anyway, but not huge purchases. But they still had a huge plus over LY. So I just don't think the economy is slowing as much as everybody says, at least from my perspective, because Amazon's a key indicator.
Right. Which is
Or
part of the
Walmart.
reason I asked the question, because you're so
Yeah.
close to the behemoth that can really give the biggest pulse on how the consumer is doing and how that correlates with everything that you're dealing with every day versus, what we hear in the news and what we think might be, the health of the economy. I think that's a great indicator.
I might not have as many $1,000 Lavazza high-end cappuccino machines coming back to me next month. They might be lower-end, $79 Keurigs instead, because people look like they're shifting a little, but it doesn't look like they're slowing down. So anyway, that's my perspective. Don't know if I'm right.
No, it's beautiful.
Don't go bet the stock market on my advice.
That's real time information from somebody that's got a strong pulse.
We'll call you in 10 days.
Yeah. Well, in 10 days I'll be busy with double the trucks of the average week, because again, we always get a spike after whatever they call Prime Day.
Yeah.
Just for those 40 categories, though, right? Not the 900.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Actually, I was walking yesterday with my VP again. I'm walking, and I'm like, where did that come from? And he's like, oh, yeah, we just started getting those. And it's some new category that we've never dealt with before at all. And I'm like, ugh. But, yeah, you just walk up and down our production lines every day, and it's just amazing as to how many widgets we touch every day.
Yeah. It's a crazy business. Well, Hal, thank you so much for being on, man.
Yeah.
Always love having you around and
I
learning
hang
from
around
you.
with me.
Yeah, I know.
If you don't believe me, just ask me. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it also.
Well, you're a man of many talents, full of just a wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate you jumping on so we could dive into your brain a little bit and learn a little bit from you. And we will be seeing you again.